In this perceived shortage of good men, where it seems like every man on the block has stepped into his divine feminine receiving era, how on earth are we expected to find better men? Well, the answer is actually quite simple. It's to create them. You see, chasing and searching for good men still reeks of powerlessness, and to be honest, it's unbecoming. And we don't create good men by criticizing, nagging, and constantly reminding them of how disappointed we are. We do it through the power of our feminine energy. Women are forgetting a very important thing. The feminine alchemizes. We are the glow up and transformation queens for a reason. I can already hear the women saying, "Not my job, I'm not changing a man." And good, you shouldn't have to. We don't create through disappointment and frustration, we create through standards and boundaries. Imagine a world where we're expecting the most for ourselves, where we are focused on creating the most abundant, juicy, delicious, ripe garden that everybody would be lining up to gain access to. Who wouldn't want to change their ways to get in? And if they didn't, why the fuck would we care? The feminine doesn't allow just anybody into her garden. No. She has standards of access. If you want in, you're going to have to bring something of value because we don't allow rodents in who just want a cheap little nibble. Now you can choose to be the Venus flytrap, swallowing up every sucker who took the bait, because you wore the people-pleasing mask, you were the chill girl, or you can be the most beautiful, radiant flower bed, just vibing, soaking up the sun, and choosing from her many options. It's time to step out of our depressing chill girl era, where we settle out of shortage, and we step into our creator girl era, our lover girl era. And these men can either choose to rise to the occasion or die off, because we are totally unbothered and enamored by our own company. In the words of Drea from the movie Do Revenge, your new vibe is high status cunt. My name is Kirsty and welcome to another episode of Good Girls in Remission, where good girls come to seek repentance for the sins they've committed as good girls. In this episode, we're going to be exploring how to ditch the trophy boyfriends and secure yourself a provider man. When we talk about feminine energy, I want you to imagine a garden. A garden has to be well maintained. It needs to be watered, sunned out, nurtured, and it also needs to be protected. If you were a cockroach trying to get into someone's garden, wouldn't it serve you to say something like, "Oh, well, your garden's not all that. I've seen other gardens with bigger flowers. In fact, you should be chasing me because I have so many gardens to choose from." We can call that cockroach Mr. Biles, because I still don't remember his first name. When you don't protect your garden, you have energy leakages that allow rodents to come and nibble on your roots. It's now your job to maintain your garden so that you can flourish, and also so that a man can come by and say, "That's my dream garden." The very first way we're going to start securing provider men is by turning chaser energy into chooser energy. And we are going to do that by eliminating the words "I want" and "I need" from your vocabulary. Instead, we're going to swap it with "I am worthy of" and "I deserve." Next time you catch yourself saying, "I want this, I want that," I want you to flip it and say, "I am worthy of this. I am deserving of this." And this takes a strong relationship with the universe, because what a lot of women do is they outsource their validation to men and they seek reassurance from men. They expect them to be something to make them happy rather than be happy and expect that to be maintained. If you keep giving off that desperate, needy energy, that's when you invite in rodents. The universe is here to serve you, and if you can see it as your provider, it will use a man to channel its resources and provide for you. You see, the man is just a channel. He's not the source of it. But you've got to have a strong relationship with the universe to be able to see it that way. If you want something different in your life, you've got to ask the universe. But it's always going to be reflecting back to you your inner state. So if you're running rampant going, I need this for me to be happy, you will always be attracting more circumstances in which the desire comes up. You won't ever be satisfied. But if you come from the position of, "I am worthy of, I am deserving of," then it can be met that way. The universe will send you the tools to maintain your garden. Wanting and needing things is gauche. Deserving things is high status cunt. And this brings me into my next point, in that the man you choose is a direct reflection of your self-worth. If you are dating a loser, you think loser thoughts. If you're dating a dusty, that's all you think you're worthy of. Who you choose to allow in your garden sets the standards for who else can come in. And if you keep allowing in losers, that's where your self-worth is sitting. So how do we change that? By eliminating everyone and everything that isn't a match to your most elevated self. If you are in fear of feeling lonely for cutting out people who aren't meant for you, trust that those people are contributing to your loneliness. Cutting out people who aren't meant for you will always be the right move, and you will always be rewarded for it. Tapping into the feminine energy has a lot to do with eliminating and removing things, removing conditioning, removing people, or removing the conditioning that attracts certain people. And that's why it's so important that you hold yourself to a high standard. I've always been a slightly more introverted extrovert. I enjoy my alone time. I never felt lonely until I was in the company of friends who nitpicked at me, who criticized me, who found opportunities to dig at me, who weren't supportive of me with my successes. But I would continuously seek out their company because that's the standard I set for myself. I criticized myself, so I got it back. I didn't believe in myself, so I got friends who didn't believe in me. I wasn't tending to my garden, so I got people who were infesting my roots. That sounds kind of strange to say. But the second you let go of these people is the second you will be rewarded. Some of my biggest manifestations came as soon as I let go of people who were holding me back. And the same will happen for you. If you find yourself constantly attracting a certain type of person, I'd be looking at your self-worth. In what areas and aspect of your life are you still settling and accepting the bare minimum or less than the bare minimum because you think that's all available for you? The next thing I want you to do is to heal your relationship with chivalry and receiving. There is this really annoying narrative going around of women not accepting men to pay for them on dates because they don't want to feel like they're expected to give anything in return, i.e. sex or more money. When I tell you that this is coming from a position of powerlessness and defense, you're not trusting in yourself and the universe to deliver to you someone who can help maintain and make your garden flourish even more than when you can do it on your own. If you're going to stop a man from paying from you to buy out of expectation, you are literally allowing the company of rodents into your life. The best way to weed them out is to let them pay and get rid of the ones who expect something from you. Start seeing sex as access to your soul. Is one dinner enough for access to your soul? No. So if a man thinks that, he's disqualified from the race. Get rid of him. And I know there are some women who are going to say, I don't care about that kind of stuff. I don't need chivalry. I don't need a man to pull out his chair for me. I don't need the flowers or the gifts. I just want a genuine connection. Girl, you should be asking for both. Because when a man loves you and has a genuine connection with you, all of that comes as part of the service. It's a package deal. You're right in thinking that that shouldn't be the only thing to look for, because that can be also very shallow as well. If there is no genuine connection, but he's showering you with gifts, that means that it's probably a facade, or he's probably just trying to charm you, which is another rodent tactic. Rodents can come in the form of rich men and poor men, but you have your intuition. You have your standards, you have your self-worth, and you have your desires. You know exactly what you're looking for, and you do not settle for less. How is he earning access to your soul? How is he showing up for you? How is he being consistent? Men who love you will naturally want to spoil you, will naturally want to invest in you. But if you're going to interfere in the natural process of courting and say, no, let's just go Dutch, let's just go splits because I don't want to owe you anything, all you're doing is setting yourself up for being used in the future. Set strong boundaries and standards for yourself. We live in a world running rampant with scarcity mindset. People are trying to haggle, so don't be surprised if you get some rodents trying to discount access to you, but don't give in. This is going to sound harsh, but with more people and men engaging in scarcity mindset, they might look to you and say, well, she's giving it away for free, or she's got low standards, so I'm just going to go for her because she's an easy pick. I'm going to use her until I find someone that I really like. I'm going to eat her fruit until I can find something juicier that's really meant for me. One rodent to you can be another woman's treasure. And that's how we begin the process of creating better men. If we simply ignore the ones who are trying to haggle and gain access too soon, they will have no choice but to work on themselves and find someone who is a match for them. Because there's always a match for everybody. But you don't want to be the chill girl who attracts the guy who is just using you temporarily for what you can give until he finds someone better. I understand that some men are just pure poison. No matter where they go, no matter who they're with, they're just going to bring their trauma with them everywhere. But it's totally possible that men who are avoidant really just don't like you that much. The best way to change that is not to focus your energy on him and changing him directly, but setting standards and boundaries for yourself so that they can feel the inspiration to meet you at your level. And if they're unable to do so, they will either A, go work on themselves, become a better version of themselves, or they'll go and hassle someone else. And eventually, once they keep knocking on people's doors, getting rejected over and over again, they'll have no choice but to either die off or change. And this doesn't have to take an instant collective change in all women for you to start experiencing the benefits of these decisions. The girl over there can still have her low standards, and you can still have your high standards. You will still attract better men irregardless. Because eventually these men will go for the low effort girlies and realize, oh, these women aren't who I thought they were. They're actually not that chill. They're actually a little bit crazy because they're so used to suppressing themselves, withholding their emotions, that eventually they let out the crazy. They get insecure. Where are you? Where have you been? Who have you been with? What are you doing? Why aren't you calling me? Why aren't you texting me? Avoidant guys who do not like you hate this behavior. They will leave. And eventually they'll say, well, where can I find high caliber women? Oh, that's right. I need to change so that I can be a match to one. But you're so focused on doing you, staying out of that little rat race, that you're just vibing. You're just having fun. The same way rich people love being able to afford expensive things, men love the feeling of attaining a prize. I'm sure you know the feeling yourself of having worked on something for so long that when you finally achieve it, it feels amazing. And incel men will be like, oh, if you ever hear a woman saying that she holds all the cars or she's the prize, red flag, run away. He is disqualified from the race because he doesn't understand his place. I actually just watched a video on TikTok of a man saying that women aren't a necessity, they are a luxury. If a man sees you as a necessity, he will be using you for your resources. But if he sees you as a luxury, as a prize, as something to be won for his hard-earned efforts, that's when he knows he's ready for a relationship. If he's asking you to move in with him and split bills, or he's going to shame you and say, well, you're not pulling your weight for organizing the dates and paying the bills, he is your trophy boyfriend. He is your Mr. Biles, and we don't want that. And my last point is you get what you expect. If you hold an expectation that there are no good men left and that you have to chase or you have to settle, that's what you're going to get back. I once knew a man who was so emotionally abusive and immature. He would complain about all women, being like, oh, women are always the same. Women are this, women are that. But it was so obvious that he was approaching women in the same way every time. He never changed his approach, so he would blame all women for being a certain way. When I was standing there being like, are you serious? You don't even realize the impact that you're having on women, and you've never made an effort to even change your approach. And this is something that you can apply to your life as well. If you are complaining about all men being the same, that becomes a you problem. However, I will say that women in particular are more heavily conditioned to expect bare minimum behavior from men, and that's not your fault. Your expectations have already been set for you, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I created this community, because I wanted women to come together to unlearn the conditioning that's been imposed upon us and re-educate ourselves and up our standards together as a collective. A lot of women are afraid to raise their standards because they think it'll take them out of the game. They'll think they'll have no option, that they'll be single and alone forever. And I'm telling you that with the power of your standards and your boundaries, you can create better men. You have the power to literally create life. Why wouldn't you be able to change the kind of men who come into your experience? I'm telling you it's possible. You've just been told otherwise. You should expect the most from men. You should expect doors opened, chairs pulled, bills paid, kindness, respect, loyalty, love, and an emotional safe haven for you to express what's on your heart should something come up. And when you come into contact with a man like this, which you will, because that's where your standards are now, the size of your garden will expand. Your fruits will be even juicier. The quality of your soil will be better. You know those chill pick-me girls as well who always say, I can't be friends with women because they're so competitive, they're so this, they're so that. And then you get to know these girls and you realize why they have no friends. It's because they show up with that attitude. I'm not saying that that's you. I'm saying that when you show up with a particular expectation of how people are and how you need to react in response to it, that's when you usually draw it to you. But if this pick-me girl was to say, I'm open to new connections with women, I'm open to being proven wrong, I'm open to friendships that are expanding, loving, caring, supportive, that's when she can at least give herself the opportunity to experience something new for herself. But clearly there's something in her benefiting from having that narrative. Maybe she's doing it for attention. Maybe she's doing it to seek male validation. I don't know, and I don't really care. But there's always a payout for the stories that we tell ourselves, even the limiting ones, especially the limiting ones. And that's on you to do the inner work and find out what the payout is so that you can finally rewrite your stories and create a new life for yourself. To conclude, if you want to change your experience of what kind of men you attract into your life, make sure that you are creating an environment in which other people can thrive. Being a high status girly isn't about just thinking higher thoughts about yourself like I'm better than everyone else. It's simply about combing through what works for you and what doesn't. You'll apply what does work and then you'll eliminate what doesn't. High status behavior isn't settling out of shortage. It isn't changing men through nagging and criticizing. It isn't believing in a shortage of good men. It's about ignoring all of that, in fact. And it's about focusing on yourself and the person that you can become and deconditioning yourself from the stories that you've been told of what you need to be to attract a good man. Because I'm telling you, the stories you've been told are attracting the rodents. You think that by being chill, you're going to get the good quality guys, but it's the complete opposite. And if you don't do the inner work to change your reality, no one is going to feel sorry for you when you fall. No one is going to care. The best way to weed out the trophy boyfriends is to just simply make yourself unavailable for it. If you want to know in major depth how to set high standards and create strong boundaries for yourself, and learn how to balance the dynamics of the light and the dark feminine to become your most magnetic, seductive self, my course Mastering Your Feminine Energy in Dating is for you. Link in bio. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and I will see you next week.